May. So we've had the compulsory COVID pause for a few months between AI Mondays, but now starting fresh with the AI Mondays virtually. So welcome everybody who has joined today. As promised already a few months ago, we discussed that we would have the next AI Monday on AI and health, and AI, the impact of AI on healthcare. And that's what we're going to do. We've actually, this is already the second time that we are addressing this topic, as more in the beginning of the month, we already had a COVID special issue of AI Monday, where we had more of a webinar on specific topics of coronavirus impact and the possibilities of AI in there. But now today we're going to delve a little bit more on what AI specifically is doing around health. And we have some great speakers today for that. So we have Konstantin from Accenture and Pekka from Clinipower. But sadly, we had Paavo Perttula also here presenting more from the strategic point of view on use of AI. But he needed to prioritize a call with the World Health Organization, as they're planning the digital impact topics around coronavirus, and Paavo was required to participate in that. So unless there are we get lucky, it may be that Paavo will not sadly be presenting today. But instead, what we will have is, after the QA with Konsta and Pekka, where you will be able to send your questions, you also have a possibility of attending an AI design sprint around healthcare. And that will be run by 33A, a company specializing in AI solution design and AI design. So please stick around for that. That will be very interesting. I've participated in their model before, and it's very interesting to see how AI can be used in different circumstances. But without further ado, let's go forward to why we are doing this. So many people have been asking in the aftermath of AI Mondays. So what is Taival, and why is Taival doing something like this? So Taival Advisory, we've been around since 2017 already, and we basically work in the intersection of strategy, technology, design, and then circular economy. And the reason why we basically went to the AI topics overall in the beginning of 2018 was that was one of the groundbreaking things that was happening at that time. And at that time, we also started the AI Mondays. And we saw, as many others did, that this is something that will be a game changer and will change many industries. And one of the topics that we've then done is that we've worked quite a lot with AI as one of the tools in the toolbox for our clients who have strategic business model level issues, and investigated, for example, what are the ways that AI can be used in companies, these rapid explorations, and then looking at also how to participate, how to partner with AI companies and things like this. So this has been our interest all along, but the main reason for running these AI Mondays is to get really people interested in the topic, in the business potential of AI. And this is hopefully also something that we will accomplish today. So get you excited about the possibility of using AI, machine learning, and advanced data, advanced analytics in the business of healthcare. So changing the way that things are actually done, and hopefully and usually for the better. Just as an overview on AI, I mean, if you look at the materials available and the studies being done about the impact of machine learning and AI in the industry overall, I mean, it encompasses quite a lot of different fields. It does have a huge effect on research and training of, for example, new medical students, but then also in the everyday life of patients and everybody, not just patients, but people in general. It helps people keep well. It helps in early detection. This is something that we see with COVID as well, or coronavirus, that we use AI in detecting the impact and, well, helping early detection of the disease. For example, there has been solutions where people are investigating if we can detect a certain type of cough that people have and try and understand if that is related to the coronavirus or not. So they're trying to differentiate between different coughs that people have and try and see if that can be associated with the sickness. Then there is naturally the help in diagnosis, decision-making, treatment, and end-of-life care. So pretty much the whole life cycle in the medical industry. And also, I mean, looking at the future and what the impact is on the market size. Naturally, always when you look at these market size impacts, you need to take them with a little bit of a grain of salt. But there is a huge potential seen in utilizing AI in healthcare, and this is just for the US market, but globally as well, the impact would be pretty much similar. Drug discovery, medical imaging, these are the topics that are the most important. But this is more from the general point of view. Now, as we go into the actual presentations for today and look at the what everybody came here to do, we have the presentations from Konstantin. He will start today, and he will talk about the use of conversational AI in healthcare and the whole impact of that. And already before he can say it, I'll disclose that I talked about chatbots in AI, and he was looking at me and telling me that that's not really what we're talking about. So I will surely learn a lot today about that. After Konsta finishes, then we'll have a possibility of welcoming to the stage Pekka Kola from Clinipower, the CTO of Clinipower, and there we'll talk about the use of AI and machine learning in healthcare regulation. And then if we get Paavo on stage, he will then look at more the strategic use of AI in healthcare, but let's see if we get there. And then afterwards, when you listen to these presentations, just before I let Konstantin onto the stage, Konsta, you can already come to the stage unless, if you're not already there. Please send your questions to the chat, and we'll then have a joint QA in the end of these presentations, and you'll have a possibility of hearing your questions answered. But without further ado, let's welcome Konstantin on stage, and let's hear what he has to say. Konstantin, over to you.
Yeah, hello. Hope you hear me well. And let me try to share. And while I'm doing my sharing, I first of all want to thank you for having me today. It's a really pleasure and honor being here and present the viewpoint. I will be talking about conversational AI and health and try to combine big and small pictures into this presentation. So let's see how it fits. A couple of words about myself, still setting up here. Yeah, 15 years experience with digital health, PhD in physics, managing director at Accenture, leading strategy and consulting practice in health and public services and a couple of accounts. And in today's stories, my applied role is solution architect and the BIDS lead. Specifically for Reko, I included my kind of like a funny joke. 30 years ago, I got the a first professional certification in programming, and that was some kind of like a chatbot feature we all laughed this time through. And since these times, I got, like I said, my professional certifications in programming, and very much of big allergy to chatbots. So this story definitely will not be about chatbots, right? So it will be about, let's call it conversational AI. It's a kind of a digital platform for intelligent dialogue with the main feature of added value. So it's not a widget there on the web page, not of any channel. It can work through the old channel. It can understand not only what you say, but actually what you need, right? And then it drives intelligently as it understands more of your need context to maximize the value of a dialogue, of this particular dialogue with you through the information advices services. One type of new features, it should as well include AI as an API. I'll say a few words later on about that, but the basic idea here is to, again, bring more value. If you as a conversational AI don't know it, bring the other AIs in, and it should work as a kind of like a plug and play, right? That's why it's called so. Understand the impact of this dialogue and help you to close the loop, improve this dialogue all the time. So again, essence is there behind the dialogue, and the way how this digital platform, intelligent dialogue digital platform, balances it out in the changing situations, either fastly changing or then slowly changing, right? So moving towards health. So what about our health dialogue? Well, I think we all intuitively understand it's not in like a great balance. Like when we are doing well, it's too little type of a dialogue. We are out of reach of professionals and otherwise working hard, eating well, right? But when we are not good, this type of a dialogue gets kind of difficult, right? So where to turn to for the information? Sometimes it comes like an over information, sometimes it's timely, sometimes it's very slow. So hard, right? So if we want to put it like in a big picture, like a segment of all our populations from healthy to the chronic illnesses, I think we can like easily understand and map where our health services currently are, right? They're where with strong symptoms and chronic illness, right? Sometimes with early symptoms and so on. But at the same time, I wanted to here to outline the most important key drivers to make a big change here in the health system. It is by doing this kind of like proactive citizen and customer engagement into this health dialogue. So it's number one. And the number two, it cannot be just an empty dialogue. It cannot be chatbot. It should provide end-to-end insights and end-to-end integrations to the services that are behind that. And there are a few levers I mentioned there for the services. It's definitely behind the integrated social and healthcare well-being data, use of AI in it, and integrating these insights again back, right, to the dialogue and to the process of professionals. So, the good news is that the Finland and the world and Finland has all key innovations to do things right, like Reko said, like strategically right, and to do things in the right way. So talking about these innovative big moves, we are talking about modern digital health platform, integrated like a comprehensive health records, if we take social care well-being data into it, right? And rebirth of the evidence-based health with AI leading the possibility to get to personalized data and to set up a new model, operating model, and engaging citizens. Aurora turns it completely like an opposite, right? So it's about putting the human first, human well-being first, and then talking about the life events and changing situations and how to handle that and building from out there. I wanted to mention Valtteri as well, because sometimes we are talking about very much like a fragmented AI pieces. But I think the point is that we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We know the AI capabilities there, so those could be pre-integrated and offered as a platform to the government to build on it. Today I will not be talking about those initiatives. Mostly we'll be talking about these live examples, looking as well at the time. Firstly, about CityGate or Kuntakati. You can go to Lempala, Hämeenlinna, Riihimäki pages and test it yourself. I will not be showing demos today, but wanted to just like make a bit of a solution blueprint, what such a digital platform could look like, or how it looks like indeed in real life when we are talking about such a kind of like a 360 cities in AI, and then we are talking it as a service platform, right? And it does include 1,200 like a ready intense pre-trained intent, so cities don't have to pretty much train in anything, so they kind of switch it in. It is multi-tenant. It works in the next day when you configure your parameters for your cities there. So and you can go to configure them further on even after they go live. So it does work. It kind of you can call it, right? You can chat it. You can escalate to live chat. You can connect your RPI services. For example, one thing it is there, it actually integrates the service registry to it immediately to when it realizes the needs and your questions. It might integrate actually giving you address of a polyclinic or apotheke or whatever it is like, right? Quite a fair amount of those pre-trained intents are definitely about the well-being and SOTEC guidance. So this is one thing I wanted to mention for. And then like year since it is in production, it handled kind of massive amount of user messages, but the biggest throughput, the biggest like a grow being after actually quite a trivial change. It's been there as a widget for some time on Riihimäki page, but then as it got promoted to be more into intuitive place, to place of the like a search. So it really does coming to the front. So this conversation like coming to the front, it is actually get more challenged, right? So, and then it actually start to learn more effectively. It is actually knowing what people asking, and it's growing into the kind of added value use. I will not stop too much on this, knowing that we are in a limited time. But one thing what we've been commended as well from the cities, as well from other governmental organizations, that hey guys, we would like to extend conversational AI to understand wider scope. We got your point, right? But we are still in our own silo. We are responsible for that type of services. So if there is a chance to connect that type of a plug and play, and that's where we invented the new concept of AI as a network, or AI as an API, or AI network, or as it lately branded by the Boost, who made it first to the kind of like a product market virtual agent network, right? So this is the ability to connect AIs as a network and then multiply this value and bring it up to citizen like who doesn't want really to care where the advice, information, or service integration is coming from, as soon as it's coming and it's reliable. So yet another really bold example is coming from the WHO's, and some of them are very much recent. Firstly, I want to mention Milli. It has a great ability to engage in mental health the younger generation, right? So it's like a very timely and very important service, and engaged along with some kind of like a smart support for evaluation and triage, right? And what's interesting now in the Corona times, WHO's has integrated as well the Leaf chart and exposed a team of professionals, mental health professionals, to support the younger generation, the Milli users, immediately into the same context with the questions if Corona or remoteness would create like a bit of an extra anxiousness or interest or whatever it is there. Another great example is the service bot done very much like with WHO's professionals with a great agility. It's as well proven that such platforms are there to bring really like a speed to go live, speed to market, and as well engage in healthcare professional into development and quality assurance and so on. I might later on share some links so you can go and see how it is kind of like a training such a conversational AI would look like, and then in terms of Milli and so on. Coming to the end of my presentation, I want to come back to the vision. We have finalized our joint study on conversational AI together with Finnish Ministry of Social Affairs and Health just before like Corona. But now speaking to you after a couple of months and a few conversational AI implementations during this time, what I can say, it's this kind of like a vision of such a living health services, like holistic, integrated network, conversational AI is yet of like a higher importance, and it's really like of a pragmatism. We ought to do it, right? And it is there to keep yet more an agile balance of our health dialogues, and at the same time bring them in the more impactful and personalized and specialized guidance and insights that are coming from down there like a background systems or through the peers. Okay, obviously, guys, none of us can do it alone. So let's do it together. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Konsta. That was very enlightening, at least for me. Now I know not to at least call these things chatbots anymore. I understand now that the vision is much greater. We seem to be getting some nice questions in the chat also. So while we're listening to Pekka present, you can already have some time to think about the answers to that question and those questions on the chat. But keep those questions coming. Don't let Konstantin out easily. So we'll be happy to press him a little bit on this great vision that he just presented to us. Now let's then welcome on stage Pekka, who will talk to us about using AI and ML in healthcare, especially in the regulation. Yes.
Okay, good. So hello everybody. My name is Pekka Kola and I am coming from Clinipower Ltd. I am not going to present you any solutions, but more talk about how to find your way out of regulative jungle when you are doing products for healthcare, whether there was artificial intelligence or machine learning or other products. So Usually, whatever application the healthcare customers are buying, they have to think about few healthcare specific things. One is how to ensure privacy and interoperability of the solutions. Then they have to think about the use of the customer data when they do research or statistics. How can they use it? And also how to ensure that the patient, that user safety is in needed level, and everything is actually regulated in healthcare. So
Pekka, just a small check. Your
okay.
screen doesn't seem to be showing, at least for me.
From here it looks like it is showing. Just a second.
Yeah, it says that it's a screen loading error. So just if you can try and reshare, I think that would be beneficial.
Oh yeah, it shows that it's not here. I guess it is now available.
Yes, now the screen is available.
Good. I put the slide, sorry. Okay, so I was talking about the patient and user safety, and that's what I am focusing now, because we have such limited time, but you also have to think about interoperability and privacy issues, and if you are doing especially artificial intelligence solutions where you need a lot of customer data to teach the solution, you also have to think about what are the rules in healthcare to get the data for your project. So from safety point of view, we have a new regulation which came in 1917 actually, and it will apply within 1 year from now. It's medical device regulation, and quite often when I talk about medical device regulation in this kind of forum, everybody asks, what the heck are we talking about? This is not device group at all, but if you look at the regulation, it applies also to software. This is directly from the regulation. It says that medical device means any instrument, apparatus, appliance, software, implant, reagent, material, etc., which is used for human beings for specific medical purposes. So if your solution is aiding in diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, prediction, prognosis, treatment, or alleviation of disease, it is in that sense a medical device, even it is software. So when you implement such kind of products or solutions, you have to think about your solution from the solutions life cycle point of view. What kind of medical risks your product may cause to patient, or what kind of risks it may cause to user of the application. You have to be sure that you have enough evidence of your solution so that you can show that it causes more, it helps more the patient than it causes harm to the patient. That's very basic rule there. And then you have to be sure that you have checked the user experience, you have usability testing and everything done with your product. And it applies to all the software which is under that regulation. So the medication itself says that the products must be based on medical evidence of the benefits of the product, and you have to do it by yourself. You have to find out how to show that your product is like that. You have to understand what are the risks to the patient. You have to make a risk assessment and risk controls to your product. The efficacy and usability has to be validated in the natural production environment before you can put your product into market or the production use. And you have to understand that you have to manage whole the product life cycle, so that it starts when you begin to develop the product or application, and it ends when you get it out of the market, so that there is nobody using it anymore. So actually you cannot do products to healthcare market as a project which ends when the product is ready, but you have to continue that and support the customers and follow up how it survives in the market, and if there is any problems with customers or problems that causes harm to patient there. And as the regulation says, you cannot place your medical product in the market before it is CE market. So this causes quite some of additional work to do, what people usually don't understand when they come from other markets to healthcare market. So then what is actually that medical device and medical device software specifically? The term covers actually those software which are used for medical purposes, and there is a couple of examples what I have got from medical device regulation guidance what came just a couple of months ago from European Union. So if you have, for example, an algorithm that uses maternal parameters for evaluating the risk of trisomy 21 disease, it's a medical device in that regulation. Or if you do some mass spectrometry software which can be used for microorganism identification, it is also a medical device. Or SmartUp, which is intended to send alarm if you have cardiac arrhythmia. The same, it's a medical device, and this regulation applies to you. So usually people are a bit confused about that gray line between medical and other software. You can say that if you have medical algorithms, medical application, or software driving a medical device, for example, software driving a ventilator or infusion pump, they are medical devices if they fit to that regulation. And then, as everybody knows, we build our solutions up to libraries and operating systems and databases. And quite often people ask if they are medical devices also, if they are used in healthcare, but they are not, because that regulation says that you can use software of unknown provenance, which means generic components that are not designed as medical device, but are used as a part of the medical device, meaning the medical software, like database engines, rule engines, or application servers, which are many times used as a part of the product. You can use them, but you have to verify it and accept them as a part of your solution. And there are also requirements that you have to know who is the provider and check that the provider is reliable enough for your solution. And then we have
1 minute.
Yeah. Then we have platform components, operating systems, network stacks, etc. They are not medical devices, but you can use them as well if you just verify them and accept to be used as a part of your solution. What comes to REML systems, FDA from United States has, which is it's a regulation authority there, has made such kind of approach to AEML based solutions that you actually need to have separated development environment for teaching your solution. You have to review and test and accept your solution for production, and then you have separate production environment where you run that new algorithm version or your new solution. And during the production time, you have to monitor your model so that if, for example, there is a new patient group, for example, COVID-19 patients coming to hospital, which makes that algorithm not fit to new patient group, you will find out that situation and you can change your model here and validate it again and then change the model. So it covers the production and development environment, and it's got like good machine learning practice in FDA terms. I think that this is the way we are going to go in Europe too. So that was about AEML development model, and that was what was my goal to talk about you.
Okay, thanks, Pekka. That was very enlightening. I did not know that the regulation would be that tight in terms of.
Yeah, it is. And if you put a lot of money to your product without knowing it, it goes like nowhere.
Yeah, indeed. Now for the QA, could I also ask Konsta to come on stage as well, and Pekka, if you can stay there.
Yeah.
We have some interesting questions in the chat. I'll start from the questions addressed to Konsta, and please keep the questions coming. I think there is a little bit of a difference now in the presentations, as the other one was a clear AI solution, and then Pekka's presentation was more about applying AI in the health environment. So you now have a possibility of addressing many types of different questions that you might have from the AI space. So first of all, Sriram asked about what factors do you see as the bedrock for companies in Finland to implement the type of initiatives that you talked about? Any views on that, Konsta?
Well, yeah, I'm working more with the governmental organization, so advising them on these topics. And usually my advice there for the governmental organizations is to raise their standards about, sorry, it's actually looking probably off the camera, raise their standards about conversational AI, like the main message here was like, not stick to chatbots, not just to experiment with that like as a technology, but build up the capabilities and then build up the value on top of capability. So look into the use cases or look into the factory of use cases like an innovation, and then building them to scale, right? So kind of scaling them is probably like the idea here, right? And that's why I'm talking so much about the integrated solutions based on conversational AI and integrated up to building like a ready networks. So like with a completely new innovation. By the way, it's the first in the world innovation that's been done in Finland. So I'm actually thinking that since those innovations exist in Finland, and they are some of them are coming from Finland, and especially like we have very difficult language right here, like a Finnish language. So if it works in Finland, it's work everywhere, right? So combining that all together, and then it's absolutely the great ground to build up, right? So be more demanding and kind of not too much reinventing the wheel, but building up the value, particular value for the health dialogue.
Very good. Now, I guess, although the data sharing is not too easy here due to all kinds of data regulations, but at least there is quite a lot of effort from the government side to also try and share data between organizations and companies. At least it's being discussed quite a lot, and I think that creates at least some kind of a basis as well for this kind of development.
Actually, if I may still, Reko, because
Sure.
This idea and this innovation, like AI is an API or AI network, is actually brilliant as well with this, that the data between organizations are not interchanged. So when I'm talking to one conversational AI species and it advises me, then I think it's just saying to me that, hey, there is another conversational AI that can help you. It connects to me, it's not connected to conversational AI of a service. So as long as I am managing this dialogue, as long as I am kind of like driving this dialogue, and the AIs are supporting me in a way, orchestrating that, not just always integrating the data behind. That's a one point that might help.
That's a really interesting vision. Any thoughts on the question from Mika on the tool sets that are needed for utilizing this type of thinking for the pharmacist service? I mean, is it already being used in that kind of setting, especially to help people choose the most suitable medicine?
Oh, yeah. In my talk, I've been trying to distinguish these two concerns. One concern is how to intelligently drive the dialogue, right?
Yeah.
And this is like a conversational AI. And another one is to
exactly.
provide the insight for the most suitable medicine that is adjusted to the needs. And for example, it might be actually the most suitable, like a sort of service, like a healthcare, social care, or the most suitable treatment if we are going to secondary care. It all gets very complicated. For that, I actually really suggest that we are more looking into the much more end-to-end type of suggestions, because they should be a bit more precise. They should be actually medical devices, right? So let's not like skip that because we are in the health, right? So, but then again, conversational AI and building up a dialogue and engaging the people thinking about that is still quite safe, right? As soon as we give the particular advice that this medicine is better than that one, we are coming to the bit difficult area. And tool sets are there. So Mika, we could collaborate absolutely. So it's not about the technology, I think, right?
Yeah. Pekka, there was a question for you. I guess you're also already writing a question as well, or an answer. But if you want to answer directly from Taival, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Any thoughts on the question?
Sure.
How to classify that?
Yeah, there's actually two regulations from EU that 2017/745 is for medical devices and 2017/746 is for IVD machines. The regulations are quite similar if you look at inside, but there is different kind of classification rules for IVD devices. So two regulations is answer.
Okay. Hope that answered the question. Just to Konsta still on my more general question. I mean, I think this is something something more strategic. I've been now also working with the government, and you know how they are trying to look for the next supercell for Finland out of all of these different innovation networks and innovation structures. So how do we make this into an export? How do we make this into something that becomes an exportable good and, for example, helps us transform the US healthcare, which seems to be a little bit in trouble with all that is happening at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a very tricky question. I think I would be rich if I would know the direct answer out of it. I would be this supercell lead or something. Yeah, I actually, again, you know, I should say that I myself very much excited being in Finland and being in the middle of those innovations, because I'm not feeling that we are kind of lacking them. Like a very smart people, very like great innovation, some of them the first in the world. I think we are a bit lacking on this kind of like a braveness to scale. We are slightly slow with this kind of like a step between like POC pilots and then going to the scale. I'm suggesting doing that. So I don't know if I could reveal, but they, for example, like from US government, they've been as well inquiries about this AI network, and I think they could be doing it in this pressure even faster than us in Finland scaling that. So I would like to challenge us to get out, pick up on those strategic innovations, and then pick up on those like a great examples. They do really great by Finnish companies, and then just combine them together in these platforms and scale it up. And of course, Business Finland and Sitra and others. And again, coming back to Aurora, many governmental organizations having this mindset already doing that. Again, like mentioning who's, it's completely unbelievable what they've been doing now.
Yeah. How do you see, just as more or less the final questions, unless people come up with others, how do you see, is this type of thinking expandable to other fields than AI, or has it already been expanded into other fields than healthcare? Sorry. So kind of these conversational AIs between companies, I would guess that would solve also questions across various fields, not just healthcare, or does something make it specific for healthcare?
Well, I think it makes a bit more demanding for the healthcare, exactly on these type of questions like medical device regulation related, and this type of strategic movements and how to get those movements orchestrated. Like, for example, again, I'm really suggesting everyone to join Ministry of Health in looking this research and joining those initiatives. So, well, yeah, there is no easy answer to that, but basically or actually the short answer would be absolutely yes. Like telecom is very much there. I think we know that we have some questions here, for example, as well in the government. Sorry, I'm coming back always to that how much is allowed this type of intelligent automation. So absolutely, like telecom is doing that, financial sector is doing that, right? So it's, and again, I'm talking about intelligent automation. So not just
exactly.
You get it automated on the operations level. You need to build it up all the time to optimal way with AI. So all this stuff is actually there in use and in production. So I actually would definitely be there to all the time be assess and bring it more to healthcare and to the government. I think it's actually a bit the opposite way. It's a bit more there in private sector and other domains than here. But
sounds good. Thank you. Pekka, do you want to still address briefly the continued question from Teres?
I am not so familiar with the IVD regulation, but what I just read from the regulation itself, if you are talking about differences between medical devices and IVD solutions, there is, from my point of view, there are a bit of overlapping terms, but maybe the diagnostic devices are not as much doing with the patient itself, but samples. And what I read from the definitions of IVD machines, it says that it talks more about reagents and calibration and control materials, instruments, and like that, when medical device regulation talks about devices which are either connected to patient and driving the patient's physiological or then used for diagnostics or etc. But that diagnostic aspect is also in medical, both in medical devices and in vitro diagnostic medical devices. So it's a bit gray line between those.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks for that, and thank you both for presenting really interesting viewpoints, and thanks for this